it's Petra the Spark, and I'm in my apothecary with some dried Zaatar from my garden. I'm gonna process these plant leaves, and they're ready to be packaged up. This is a gift for a friend. And just wanted to invite you to hang out with me while I'm working on this Zaatar. Zaatar is a plant related to thyme, in the thyme family, and similar to thyme, but a little bit different, or a lot different, but they both support the mind. I don't know if technically Zaatar is associated with Mercury, but it sure feels like it to me. It's very stimulating, awakening. A lot of the aromatic herbs are like that. Mint, rosemary. And Zaatar is especially expansive to the mind. And for me, I feel like it works with the nerves. It feels like it clears the channel. Like your nerves are literally conductors of electricity, right? And it's these pathways, these channels that the electricity of the electric impulses, when you say your nerves are fried, they're literally fried because it's electricity going through them. Like, it's like a wire, right? Or it's a channel. It's a conduit of electricity. And Zaatar is so sort of soft and spongy. Like some of the times are like that, like the broader leaf, like the ones with the bigger leaves, have that spongy quality too. And Zaatar really has that soft, like pillowy almost texture that feels like it's like a buffer. Like it's like it creates a soothing softness, which is what you need around your nerves because you're passing electricity through, and electricity is hot, burns, it wears things down. So it's interesting the way this grew. You can kind of see it's like the stalk came out of the ground here, and then it went way over, and it just sent up all these different shoots, reaching for the light. So it reminds me of that nervous system thing of like creating all these little offshoots, all these little directions, being very flexible, being able, filling all the little spaces to get as much light as possible, to conduct as much electricity as possible. And it's a very light hungry plant. Like it will search it out and then create all these different, it's very creative. You know, like some plants, they'll have like just kind of a general structure that's the same, you know, centralized like around a trunk or branches. And I find that the Mercury plants, the plants that help the nerves too, like chamomile and, you know, catnip, they spread, and they have this very uncontrollable way of growing. Like they'll fill up whatever space is there. They don't really stick to one growth pattern. They'll go in any direction and just kind of follow the light or follow the space. Skullcap really does that. It follows the sort of edges of a planter, like the cracks. And it makes me think about that principle of the nerves and Mercury and the mind. And, you know, we say our mind can wander, right? It travels, it goes in all different directions. It has it's like synapses in the brain, right? You learn something new and your brain like grows a new bridge. Like there's this constant growing and diverging and going in all these different directions, and kind of, yeah, it's like it's how the mind moves. And we're in Gemini season right now too, and this is like the first harvest, the first chance that I've had to harvest since Aries season. And I have to cut back all the plants that are like nerve plants, because they're just growing like crazy, and they're growing in all the different, they're spreading out. Spreading far and wide. I want to make a Zaatar honey or Zaatar elixir to use when I'm doing readings or doing writing. And I want to I'm going to exercise that principle of the mind expanding and having flexibility and traveling and kind of curiosity, right? It's just this like, I'm gonna go in all these little different directions, and I haven't done this before yet, but what's over here? And the flexibility required in order to do that. Like, see how this is totally different? They'll just grow in whatever direction makes sense. There's no like set structure. It's just feel it out. They feel it out, and they go as far as they can go in that one direction. They follow the light and channel the light back and use it to grow more in that direction. And then it's like it's curiosity. They're feeling things out instead of navigating based on like a preset structure, a predetermined pattern. Like they just, yeah, that's the mind. And what does that really mean to have an open mind? It means to be flexible, to be curious, to be interacting with what's right in front of you. instead of, placing predetermined meanings, or it's like, oh, being very present, moving forward and navigating based off of what you're coming into contact as you go. It's very different than a lot of other plants. And I find that it's like heart plants will often be very centered. They'll have a central, like motherwort, or a lot of the trees, they'll have, they have their center, and they just, they adjust to things around them, but they don't go off in all directions simultaneously. Like, that's not how they move. And plants that support the nerves, that's exactly how they move. They go off in all directions. These divergent, going in all directions at once. Changeability, being able to change and adapt. They're very adaptable. That's what makes mints and everything so, widespread. They're everywhere. You can't really kill it. Once it gets out into the ground, it's like you can pull it up, but it'll show up somewhere else. It's very adaptable. It's very resilient. Makes me think of that mutable quality of Gemini, or just the mutable signs in general. Mercury. And the Mercury signs are both mutable. It's Gemini and Virgo. So I'm going to make not with this, with some fresh Zaatar, I'm going to make a elixir to help my mind be flexible in that way. Use it for readings. Use it to support my mental capacity, my mental travels. Okay, this is looking good. Zaatar. All right. Have a good day. I'll see you around. Be well.